Greetings, sending you all some warm, positive vibrations. So, 4 o'clock in the morning is what I like to call the power hour, or more, even more exactly. I have found over the years that it is a time of, in the most simplest sense, clarity. What I would say is a time to really tap into your own divine onboard intelligence, right? Not necessarily needing any labels. Though if you want to label it, you can call it whatever you want. You can call it God or the Most High, or that other aspect of ourself that is beyond our physical. I like to break things down to the simplest common denominator. Um, it is so easy to get caught up in our different beliefs or our practices or the things that resonate with us or different myths and so on. Yet there are principles or things that are beyond us. So in any event, this series is I Woke Up Like This, and it's the Early Risers Circle. I had done this for a while um, back in the day, earlier in my channel, and I stopped. I still get up early, and I stopped because of some of the elements and the randomness, the random energy of humans on social media. Yet, consistently for years, my eyes pretty much pop open at 4 o'clock in the morning. So, this hour, I am not concerned at all about what I look like or people's impressions. I just know that 4 o'clock in the morning, when I first wake up, is such a time of calm, clarity. That's the best way I can describe it. And clarity is really important. I would say clarity is worth its weight in gold. So, what do I mean by clarity? Tune in for a few minutes if you happen to be up, and this vibe of calm and clarity, getting clear and intentional about how you would like to spend your day, how you would like to respond to challenges. If that's something you're interested in, tune in. Stay tuned for a little bit. So I am Body-Culinary, also known as Kwasapeacefull eating on some social media. I am a natural born woman. I enjoy being a woman. Shout out to you, whatever your expression is. I am a mother. I enjoy being a mother and the fact that I'm able to have life. I am a human with flaws like other people. If you've been on my channel, this channel, I share several things. One of them is I share my journey of radical self-acceptance, really celebrating and appreciating the features that I have been assigned while I have the human suit. And the other things that I love to share about and express in my daily life are what I like to call 3 leverage lifestyle practices. And those are peaceful consumption, food that loves you back, right? Not just a part of your mouth, I get the part in your mouth, but food, energy that your cells can recognize, your immune system can recognize, your colon can recognize, that dramatically affects your mood. So I invite you to expand your idea of what food is, right? So we have peaceful consumption, garden therapy, and a daily, vigorous, joyous, sweaty movement practice. And might be a bit of a broken record. Yeah, not a broken record, but there's certain things that I consistently communicate about a lot. And those 3 lifestyle practices are something I express all the time. Why? Why? Because they are something that you have access to wherever you are in the world, whatever your living situation is, whether you're paying rent or mortgage, whether you have a big space or tiny space, whether you are married or single, whether you are in between jobs, you got a new job, or entrepreneur, or maybe perhaps right now you don't have a stream of income. All of these things don't define who you are, right? Because we will all take off this human suit at some point. So these leverage lifestyle practices, they really give you something back. They give you something back. You get something, and although it may seem intangible, you can't touch it with your hands, they give you back something significant for the investment of the non renewable currency of your time and your attention, right? If you use any of the apps to just monitor and give yourself some feedback of how much time you're spending on the internet, if you do, nobody's there with you. If you do an honest accounting of your time without shaming yourself, kind of just like doing a study. Or imagine if you were your child and you were observing your child's behavior or some challenges, or you just wanted to guide your child in developing so they could live to their fullest potential, and express whatever it is artistically, if it's poet, poems, or physical expression, artistic expression, gifts, skills, talents, things that you want to see them develop so they could be fully expressed in this lifetime. You would observe them with some compassion. As a parent, you would want to guide them and strive to motivate them to be disciplined, right? And I would also say, as a woman, as a mother, I strive to be efficient and effective. So I think, how could I motivate my children, my offspring? How could I motivate them to clean their room, or to do that reading, or to practice their cello, or pursue to do the different tasks that they need to do that will help them be on the trajectory of a life where they're able to do what they love and be compensated the most for it, right? And for them to engage in reflective communication so that they can have healthy, intimate relationships, work relationships in the world. I know that's my desire for myself, and that is definitely my desire for any of my children. So, what about ourselves? So, I invite you to just consider thinking, if you were a child, right? There's that part of us that doesn't have a physical age, right? There's that essence of us. So again, you may call it whatever labels that make you comfortable, but how would you guide it so that you can be on a trajectory, so that when the time comes, whether it's expected or unexpected for you to take off your human suit, you feel like, wow, I really got good use. I feel fulfilled. I don't have regrets, or I am I'm okay with the way I've resolved a lot of things, and I've lived my life fully. My godmother used to tell me, when you walk out the door, I talk about my godparents and my grandma Lou all the time. She said, the angel of death is your constant companion. Um, she sits on your shoulder when you walk out the door. So when you walk out the door, act like you're not coming back. They said, my godparents said a lot of things that was so ahead of me as a young person. And I remember all of the gems and the jewels. I got a lot of gems and jewels from elders that were around me. And also, I acknowledge I showed up. I was really looking and seeking and comparing and contrasting what I observed in the adults around me, their contentedness, their lack of happiness and irritation, their frustration, how they treated themselves, and how they treated each other. So I was looking and I was taking notes, and I often wondered, once will I be so irritated or frustrated or preoccupied with working that I won't be able to be present to play with my children or to be able to guide them when it comes to making decisions uh, for their life, whether that's with relationships or school or education. So, all of us may have things that we are working on or working through. And to put it quite simply, these early morning hours, they are a time of clarity, and you can really use the early morning as a leverage activity. I really love leverage activities because they're an investment. They give you back more if you're investing your time and energy. Anytime you're investing something, again, a gentleman, an African gentleman, said to me, "Your schooling," he said, "your education. You're not just showing up for nothing. If you're investing your time, you should get back more than what you invested, right?" So even these little nuggets that my grandma Lou and some of these older folks gave me, they are leveraged gems because the same principles from these very real people walking around in the flesh, they have served me for years and they serve me to this day. So I do share them with the young people and the people that are around me. So this 4 a.m., when it's quiet, before all of the millions, I will call them, of radio stations start blaring and all kinds of images and sounds that are stimulating and bypassing your conscious and going right into your subconscious and triggering you, triggering behaviors, training you, putting ideas that your brain will have to process, right? Your mind is a function of your brain, right? That's your mental activity, your mental conditioning, your habitual mental conditioning. All of us have it. 4 a.m. is the time where you can discern the different types of intelligences that are being processed in this human suit by your brain. What do you mean? My son says, "Mommy, you're long winded." I make an effort to be very clear. So, some of these things I wish someone had told me, but I was given a lot, but I wish I could make these distinctions as a younger person between the ego and what I'm going to call your essence. See if you can feel or discern. Again, ascribe whatever label you want to it. But the different types of intelligences, right? We have an ego. All of us have one in the most practical sense because I find spirituality is very practical. It's so practical. So we don't need to get all twisted out. I was raised very religious. I've tried on numerous religions and spiritual practices for size. We don't need to get lost so much in the story. Pause on your favorite. Though the ego, I found that through observation and study, it's that part of our mental processing of our brain that does have a purpose. It gets a bad rap, and there's a reason why. Though everything that we have within us is a purpose. So it's a part of us, of our mental processing that strives to keep us safe, and it's built in, it's reflexive, it's on its job all the time. It doesn't really go to sleep, right? Just like our internal dialogue, for the most part, doesn't go to sleep. So it is protective. It looks to make sense of the things around us, in particular that are unsafe, right? So, for example, as a child, you observe people arguing or fighting, so that part of our mental processing is going to look to make sense of who's right or wrong, who's dangerous, and get out of harm's way. And it's going to remember those things. So uh, should you encounter the same vibe or see the same things, it's going to get out of harm's way. Now, in our modern times, a lot of times you may not be able to get out of harm's way in your relationship or in the environment that you live in, your living situation, or on a grander scale, maybe perhaps in society, walking in the street, or what's coming at you on through these hypnotic trance boxes. So psychologically, you may not be feeling safe. Now, maybe our pride, the same ego, may not let us admit that because, again, that's a vulnerability. And that's not that part of our mental processing that we call the ego. That's not its job. It doesn't do that because it's defensive all the time to a fault, which is why I say quite often the ego will take out the host, right? It has a job to protect us. The ego, for example, can take um, exercising and being healthy, and it can twist it and have you run yourself to you are skin and bone and be so anorexic, right? Got to be careful with social media. And I've seen this in my work as a coach. So if we just understand it's speaking, it's communicating all the time, that part of our it's speaking, or we're listening to an intelligence, we'll call it words, or we think in words and pictures and internal dialogue. It is not logical. Its only job is to protect us. It can skew things quite often. The ego can have us put ourselves in harm's way because it will go for what feels safe and comforting and familiar. And here's where it can get kind of twisted and where it can show up. Things that taste very good, is familiar, comforting, usually. Let me put my nutrition and my chef hat on. Uh, Fatty foods and starchy foods. They feel grounding. They feel heavy. We crave a lot of heavy foods where it's a sensory experience. It's the party in your mouth. Though the ego, right, is not thinking of our arteries being clogged, the colon being clogged, us after the sensory experience, feeling very weighted down. It doesn't think like that. It's only doing its job, right? So I don't want to go too long. Just something for us to consider. Now, in contrast, something I found, the essence of you, right? Another part of our intelligence. We have lots of intelligence, physical intelligence, and there's some parts of our intelligence that in this animated suit that's beyond the physical. So the essence of us, here's a litmus test. I love litmus tests and distinctions. The essence of us will never put us in harm's way. It's another part of our processing and our intelligence. It won't harm you. So the essence of you, right? It knows that this food, it smells delicious, it looks delicious, but that is not healthy for me. Or uh, for me to get engaged in this activity is going to put my teeth and my body in harm's way. If I'm dealing with somebody that's showing very reckless behaviors and I'm about to engage in some reckless behaviors, this is not a good decision. Now, being that the ego part of ourselves, its job is to stand guard. It often is triggered in an unsafe environment. So it is louder, it seems to drown out the intelligence of our essence. It drowns it out. So you're not able to hear it as clearly when it's so loud and it's a million voices and a million different images that are triggering your appetites and showing you smiling faces, but not showing you the whole process, right? Which we're very prone to mimic as a species, as a human animal. We're mimicking quite often without a full context or without considering the long term effects of our consumption patterns. So we make quite often life altering decisions in our teens and our 20s that will dramatically affect our lives, the lives of potential offspring, the lives of other people in the communities around us in the world, affect the planet, because the ego part of us, it is not mature. The simplest way I can put it. Its only job is to protect, doesn't care, and it's doing its job, though, um, even though it's protecting us, you can't wrestle the gun or the knife or whatever away from, that's just to be extreme, from the ego. It's on its job all the time, but it is skewed, it is reactionary, and it is immature. So that part of our mental processing, right? Some people say, quote unquote, the devil made me do it. I don't ascribe to those things. Anything that would have me, and these are distinctions I've been able to make over the years, that have me, that would tempt me, entice me to surrender accountability and responsibility. I'm very wary of, because we have been conditioned that, and this is just my perspective. If you don't agree, I don't have the only perspective. You can respectfully share. Though I'm wary of something that removes my accountability and responsibility, somebody else is going to pick up the tab. I have observed it is a pattern that doesn't have us take accountability and responsibility, and personal accountability and responsibility and discipline and mature decisions, especially as a emotional human animal, can level its leverage. That kind of shift in our thinking and reasoning can level the playing field, right? Things may have happened to us, yet that is not all of who we are. And it is easy without guidance, without discernment, without a frame of reference. It would seem the most logical thing to just go with the emotions of, this is what happened to me. It can't, and a lot of stuff has happened to a lot of people, but that becomes our narrative. And we start acting out of, this is all of who I am and I need to protect myself. The ego is triggered. And so we can make a lot of decisions that put ourselves, our reproductive organs, and others in harm's way, which makes not one iota of sense. Though the ego's job, or that part of, maybe we need to find another word for it, but that part of our mental processing is to keep us safe, and it is illogical, right? So the safe is quite often sensory and it is emotional, and quite often it's processing activities that have passed and trying to avoid discomfort in the future. So it is functioning inside of the brain, right? It's part of our mental processing. I hope this makes sense. Landing exactly how to try to start the AM rising, planning, meditation, and listening. So I'm not going to stay on too long. So my mind is so clear, that part of my mental processing, the mind, which is mental activity, is so clear in the early morning. So I don't know that it's really, I don't think that it's so important what we look like. And I get, we're enticed as humans. We are so enticed with looks and what something looks like, and not so discerning and reading the signs and signals of what something actually is. And sometimes I consider, like, wow, knowingly and unknowingly, it seems that we're allowing ourselves to be dumbed down, in the sense of taking our cues from acting and from images on a screen. I have spent long periods of time with no computer, pretty much no computer, in nature for a couple of years. And I felt kind of weird when I came back to use the computer. It actually felt so noisy. It was very, very unsettling. And this is a tool. But I remember I felt like a lot of anxiety and stress turning on the computer. Like, it would always be like, oh my gosh, like, what are people up to? And then it gets addictive, the things that we're worrying about, right? I liken it to, you can't take your eye off of that thing that is worrisome, because if you take your eye off of it, it will come for you. Or you need to keep your eye to know exactly where it is. Though focusing only on that has us processing only on avoiding it, or in seeking to avoid things that worry us. When you can't get away, we will go into pleasure seeking. Um, Only, it seems. That is what we're encouraged to, in a way that I observe weakens us. We're not encouraged to process uncomfortable, difficult emotions. If anyone has ever looked, you can research the opium wars in China. It's not the only thing. Today, there's a opioid crisis and a drug crisis in the United States. I can't keep up with the amount of drugs and narcotics with lots of people that have experienced trauma or that are scared about a volatile living situation and volatile happenings in the earth are seeking to not be present, which in one sense is logical, right? Because it's so uncomfortable. It is such a threat that you want to zone out. So it's becoming so normalized to go on the other side of pleasure in the absence of accountability and responsibility. And I can see how it contributes to hopelessness, right? And then we put on smiling faces with makeup, or we talk with a lot of bravado and a lot of aggression, where underneath, many humans are really frustrated, angry, scared, traumatized, and feeling unheard. So, my thought this morning, as I woke up like this, was spend some time with yourself. So, I will communicate with myself. I listen to my internal dialogue. Is if we just spent some good quality, quiet time with ourself, meaning distinguishing and without judging, but observing with a healthy sense of curiosity. That part of our mental processing, that is the ego, or that part that is being protective yet can be immature and illogical, and that part of our essence that would not put ourselves or put others or even the earth in harm's way, not intentionally, right? That can be a huge distinction. So I was thinking, to spend time with yourself and to think of the litmus test. How can you tell which part of the intelligence you are dialed in, tapped into, that you're taking instruction from, that you're in alignment with the tone of it, right? With the feel. Can you notice the feel of the ego? Is it anxiety ridden? Is it worried? But it can be justified because it's protective. Or in your essence, when you feel quiet, when you feel calm, that is a place from which you can make much more efficient, effective, strategic, beneficial decisions for yourself, right? So I'm just going to take some time for some just plain, simple, deep breathing, which is a great tool. A lot of these things we hear, and a lot of these, there's so many things that are catchphrases now, but it can be observed that there's a big disconnect, right? There's more yoga, there's more religions than ever. Yet when we get up off the mat or when we're done with our meditation, it can be seen that it seems we're not able to manage the triggers or the anger or the old memories or the trauma. It seems like we're overwhelmed as a collective species and we can't seem to stop triggering each other and projecting on each other, mistreating each other, a lot of things that are very painful have become normalized to joke about it. Like it's very, very funny. The sarcasm about violence. My sister, when she came in from working out yesterday, she had gone to a gym. We have a gym, but she was just saying the music, she has to put her headphones on. I know the last time I went to a gym, I didn't want to go, but when I started going to a gym with her, I'm like, I don't understand. Well, I do understand. We're so desensitized that the music is so, it feels unsafe. It is so animalistic. It's like, wow, we're allowing ourselves to be dumbed down. I don't know. I just wonder. I don't know how men and women, I don't know how men and fathers are. It's a hypnotic beat. It's just like, how do you not, what have we become in terms of our mental processing? where it's okay. I find it disturbing. I cannot sit with that music. I don't care who is singing. It's because it's unsafe, and it says a lot about overcompensation of securities, or uh, when someone feels insecure, and this can be expressed differently in men and women. When we feel insecure and powerless, we will overcompensate, right? I can tell you, someone that's been a trainer for many years, Monday is International Chest Day for men. Everybody's working on their physical chest. But what if folks worked out the character the same way, their uncomfortable emotions? That's a workout, to be able to catch ourselves, dial into that essence part of ourselves that would never harm us and never harm others, and to be able to be present enough to hold in check when we want to just pop off at the mouth at somebody. And perhaps the only power that we feel is in the words that we're using, or just to type out things to try to elicit a feeling or trigger a feeling in someone on social media. Question, you can let me know, does it empower you? Is that the only place you feel strong? Does it weaken you if that becomes habitual, or has it become habitual, even indirectly, the things that we don't speak out against? And again, this is not from a religious point of view, but the things that are uncomfortable, if millions of people don't speak out about it, well, we can see now we have become something else. The climate has become something else. How are we affected when there are just no boundaries, right? And that's if we don't curate social media and what we are ingesting, then what is the result? So I invite you to consider, do you put yourself in harm's way without making yourself bad or wrong? I'm sure we all have at different points. Do you put yourself in harm's way, your reproductive organs, your hard-earned money, the time that you have, which is a non-renewable resource? Do you do an honest accounting of it? Your rest and your relaxation. You have sleep, right? And you have rest and relaxation. Is that something that you've prioritized? Can you only have rest and relaxation if you are ascribed to a specific religion? Is all of who you are what you look like in your outfit, in your cotton, viscose, polyester to other people? Is that all of who you are? Do you spend quality, quiet time with yourself to observe your patterns of thought and the undertone of how these things make you feel? So I invite you, you're welcome to join me if you like, to some deep breathing and the different ways of breathing. I like to keep things simple. This is in through the nose and out through the mouth. So kind of, if you think, no, today we'll do in through the nose and out through the nose, and towards the end we'll do in through the nose and out through the mouth. And see if you can notice the way breathing, how it makes you feel. What's the tone of it? What does it feel like if you start to calm down from the movie screen in your own mind, right? So the lungs are down here, not here. We can have a tendency to breathe very shallow from the throat. I invite you to breathe down here into your lungs. You can find a comfortable place for yourself. If you're very tight, like some men folks are tighter, some women are tighter, your knees may be up high. You can sit on a thick folded blanket on a yoga block that can help your hips to open up so you can be comfortable. When we are very uncomfortable, it is harder to sit for quote unquote meditation or relaxation if the body's uncomfortable. Similarly, when you're sitting and in stretching practices in a yoga practice, part of the yoke or the union or the technology of it is you start to increase your noticing, right? You start to notice a lot. It's like a built-in. You start to notice. You start to notice your mental activity. You start to notice if you have too much extra around your gut when you're doing your spinal twist. You start to really turn a lot of your intention inward, and it can really help you calm down, especially when there's so much pulling your attention outward, right? Yes, in the nose, out the mouth, cleared my path exercise. All right, so here we go. So make sure that your shoulders are down. Only depression we want is shoulder depression. So you want a lot of space between your ear and your shoulder. And your shoulders should be slightly retracted, right? Because we have tendency to be here from the computers. So your cervical spine, your skull is pulled in, shoulders are down. Even if you're sitting, your pelvis is tucked under, so your lower back is nice and straight. You can keep your eyes open or closed. We're going to take a nice big deep inhale through the nose first, and then we're going to exhale through the mouth. So we're going to inhale. And exhale. And inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Now just in and out through the nose. See if you can maintain your awareness on your breathing. Notice the pace and the cadence of your breathing. I invite you to bring your attention to your toes, to your big toes, your middle toes, your pinkies, tops of your feet, the soles of your feet, your ankles and heels. Allow them to become very heavy and to sink into the floor beneath you. Notice your shins, your calves, the backs of your knees, your thighs, your hips and your glutes. Allow them to become very heavy and to sink into the floor. Bring your awareness to your lower back and to your glutes. Allow them to become heavy and to rest in the direction of the floor. Notice your stomach muscles. Allow them to soften and relax. Notice your torso and your chest. Bring your awareness to your heart. Breathe into your chest. Allow your heart to slow down, relax a little. Safely nestled inside of your chest. Allow your upper torso and your neck to relax. Allow your lower back, your mid back, your shoulders to become heavy and to relax. Bring your awareness to your fingertips, your thumbs, your palms, your wrists. Allow them to soften and relax. Notice that your forearms, your elbows, and your upper arms become very heavy and sink in the direction of the floor. Notice as your ears rest gently along the sides of your face. Notice as your tongue rests gently inside of your mouth. Notice as your eyes rest softly in the sockets. Notice as your brain slows down to relax, nestled inside of your precious skull. See if you can bring to your mind's eye something that you feel grateful for. Something that you feel really grateful for. And hold it in your mind's eye. See if you can bring to your mind's eye something that brings joy and laughter to your face. Notice the tone, the feeling, the expression that immediately comes to your face as you think about something that brings joy and laughter. I invite you to take a mental snapshot of that feeling. Should you need to access it during the course of the day, should you become triggered, or should you encounter another human being who is triggered today? I invite you to set an intention in advance for how you would ideally, how you would like to respond to the triggers and the challenges that are going to be placed before you today, before you go out into the world. How ideally would you like to respond? You can decide in advance. And this can be a little practice. And you can come back at the end of the day just to do a check-in to see if you were able to respond with grace, with poise, preserving your energy, your focus, and the intention that you set at the beginning of the day. You can intend for yourself a movement practice that can really help you express and release a lot of pent-up energy and stress, that can help you restore your integrity and honoring your word for caring for yourself. You're up early enough to prepare some beautiful, healthy food, the most high octane fuel that is peaceful to you, that is available, and you can prepare some food and set it up so you have it ready for you after your movement practice. I invite you today to to be intentional about creating a great day on purpose. Simply because you said so, whatever your relationship status, whatever finances, whatever these things that are going on outside you, the things that maybe in this moment you cannot control. I invite you to be intentional about creating a great day. What does that feel like? What does that look like? When you can feel proud of yourself, when you can tune into nature, you're up early enough hopefully to catch the sunrise, to look at some birds because they can really help you reset your nervous system. I invite you to create a great day on purpose simply because you said so. So simple, a little longer than I wanted to spend online. I want to get some movement done, always some cleaning, putting on some really good lyrics. Notice how the lyrics make you feel, right? Do you feel in a litmus test? I'll leave with one of my favorite litmus tests is, do you notice, are you enticed to worry more? Because it can be addictive to worry. Are you enticed to get into action, or you're motivated to get into action around the things that you say are important to you. I invite you to enjoy your time, really enjoy your time in the human suit that you have. It is a wonderful thing that it responds to movement, to quiet, to rest, to relaxation, and to plants, fresh, whole living plants. Create a great day on purpose. Shout out to all of my early risers. Feel free to replay this, maybe perhaps while you are decluttering or cutting up your fruits or vegetables. It is for us to really, we have the opportunity, because I don't like to tell grown folks what to do, to really leverage our time spent on the internet. And I haven't done these for a long time, my early riser circle. We shall see. I made them private. I have moved them to Patreon and other platforms because the internet energy or the behavior of a lot of us humans has gotten really random. Create a great day on purpose. You can find me in the garden, anything to do with the garden, fruits and vegetables, in a movement practice. So I post from time to time on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and if you don't have a copy already, feel free to get your copy of Natural Beauty No Products. Love your own hair and skin. Maybe you're like me, you're just tired of a whole bunch of products, and you feel like it should really be simple with the food. And Whole Living Foods in the Hood with menus to fit your budget. Budget is a nice guide for maximizing your spending. Focus on a lifestyle of whole, fresh living, unprocessed foods, focusing on plant foods. You may decide to add other things, but I'm focusing on peaceful consumption, food that loves you back and that is cruelty free. So you'll have to find your path. See you soon. Like, comment, subscribe, and all that jazz.